Today's Series 2009 web class is on posting groups. Posting groups help users create links between master data records in the different application areas and the GL accounts in the chart of accounts. When transactions such as distributions and purchases and other transactions are recorded and posted for these master data records, posting groups route the transaction figures to the correct GL accounts. Today we will cover specific posting groups and general posting groups. The primary purpose of specific posting groups is to identify the balance sheet account for each subledger. The subledger refers to transaction entries in application areas such as inventory, sales, or agency distributions, and purchases. Specific posting groups are assigned to the following master data records: agencies, vendors, items, and bank accounts. Specific posting groups can also be assigned to fixed asset accounts, but we won't be covering those in today's class. These specific posting groups create the direct link to the primary balance sheet account for each master data record. First, we will cover agency posting groups. To access the agency posting groups, you would go to Financial Management, then to Departments, then to Financial Management, to Setup, and then to Posting Groups under Administration. And here you will see the different areas for posting groups. We'll start out with agency posting groups. As you'll notice here it says Customer, but in your database it may say Agency Posting Group. Here we would do the setup for the agency posting, which maps the accounts receivable accounts, and then any payment discount accounts, invoice and application rounding accounts, interest and fee accounts that are related to agencies. In a Ceres database, typically the only account that we are concerned with is the receivables account, unless you are using one of these other areas of the system, such as rounding, invoice rounding, or payment tolerance, etc. But for the most part, the important one to have filled in is the receivables account. To create a new posting group, you would simply click on New, and then put in the name that you want to call your posting group. And then you would select from the lookup the receivables account to assign. So if we needed to have a separate AR account for agencies that post to this 1220 account, then we would create a new posting group and define the receivables account on that posting group. And then when creating new agencies that need to have transactions posted to this receivables account, we would select the second agency posting group rather than the first one. So to add new posting groups, you just simply go to New, enter the code, whatever you want to call it, and then the receivables account that's associated with that posting group. We'll go back and show you where to assign those on agency cards in just a little while. The next posting group to go over is the vendor posting group. And the vendor posting group maps the accounts payable account, the payment discount accounts, any invoice and application rounding accounts, interest and fee accounts relating to vendors, or in this case also donors. Although typically you don't have any GL transactions for donors. If for some reason you did, you would want to make sure that you've got the accounts mapped correctly for the posting group that's going to be associated with your donors. So we click on vendor posting groups. You'll see that in this test database we only have one for donors and one for vendors. And on this donor one, if we select the lookup, we see that the payables account that is defined is the donor transactions. And if we look at the one for vendors, we see it's for accounts payable. Now, if you need more than just the two that are shown here, you can certainly create additional vendor posting groups by clicking on New, and it will create a new line. And of course, if you were on, depending on where you are on the line, it will either insert it above or below. And then you can add your new posting group, create a code, and then define the payables account associated with that particular posting group. And then when you are assigning posting groups on the donor or vendor card, you would select from the appropriate posting group that are posting groups that are available. So those are the agency posting group setup and then vendor posting group setup. Now we'll talk a little bit about inventory posting. It is slightly different in that you don't have just one table for posting groups for your inventory or your items. You have two. You have inventory posting group and then inventory posting setup. The inventory posting groups are specific posting groups that are used to group items for statistical purposes. Reports such as the inventory valuation report and batch jobs such as post-inventory cost to GL use inventory posting groups to list the results. And as I mentioned before, the inventory posting group is slightly different than that setup of the agency posting and vendor posting groups because two windows are used. The inventory posting group setup allows you to define different types of items that you would need to create posting assignments for. If you have donated items that need to be tracked under one GL account, government items under another, non-food items perhaps under yet another, purchased exactly as it is purchased, you would then define your inventory posting groups and assign those to the item cards as they make the most sense. So if you're creating a new donated item, then you would want to make sure you assign an inventory posting group that posts to the GL accounts for your donated product. If you click on any one of these lines here and then go to setup, it will show you the inventory posting setup, which is another option we have down here, and I'll show you in just a second. But it will only show those that are for the line that you were on here. So I was on the donated line, and it only shows me all of the posting setup for the inventory posting group code of donated. Now in this database we have a lot of different locations. So the inventory posting setup window defines the posting links between the inventory locations and the inventory posting group that we previously set up here. So it takes the combination of your location, the inventory posting group code, and then you will define the accounts, such as the inventory account, WIP account, any inventory account interim, and other variance accounts that you might need to have assignment for. So potentially you could have a different set of GL accounts for each location that you have in the warehouse. And as I mentioned before, since I was on the line for donated, I'm only seeing those that have a combination of location and inventory posting group of donated. If I were to switch to Gov and click on Setup, then I see all of them for Gov. Now to see all of them together, I can click on the Inventory Posting Setup window, and now I would see all combinations regardless of location and inventory posting group code. So as you can see here, we have some set up with a blank location, and then we have some for location 11, 12, 13, etc. So this just gives us an overall view of all the inventory posting combinations. And then based on the assignment on the item, it will determine what GL accounts are hit during posting transactions. The other place where you can assign posting groups are on bank accounts, and you can create the bank account posting groups here. Let's make this a little bit bigger. In this particular training database, the code actually matches the GL account number, but you could have a code be like a bank name or maybe an account name, and then the bank account number that it's associated with would be selected here. So the code can be whatever you want it to be, and then the GL account would be the associated GL account from the available list. So if I wanted to actually name it by a bank name, I could. So if I wanted to call this Capital for the Capital Bank, then I would select the appropriate account to link that to. And then when creating my bank account for the Capital Bank, I would then choose this bank account posting group because it's linked to the correct GL account for any transactions that post to that bank. So again, that's set up under posting groups and then under bank account posting groups. And that will be assigned on the bank account card. Now that we've covered the specific posting group setup for the actual assignment of GL accounts, we'll go over where you assign these on the different cards. So we started with the specific posting group of agency, and to assign an agency posting group, we go to Agencies and Receivables, Agency Relations, Agencies, and if you were creating a new agency card, then of course you would start with New and go through the process of entering in all the data. And when you get to the Invoicing tab, you would put in the information for the posting group. But we'll go ahead and look at an existing card. And you'll notice on the Invoicing tab, you see a field for Agency Posting Group. This field here is where you would select the appropriate agency posting group to determine what GL account will be hit for transactions associated with this agency. You'll notice the one that I created a moment ago, Agency 2, and in order to see the actual GL accounts associated with these posting groups, you would have to click on Advanced, and you could now look at the receivables account assigned to each of these. So when setting up a new card, based on the type of agency that it is, you will then determine which of the posting groups that are available to assign to that agency to make sure that transactions post to the correct receivables account. Go ahead and click OK. And then the next specific posting group that we talked about were the vendor posting groups or the donor posting groups. So we will go to, let's go to Purchase first, and we'll look at vendors. On the vendor card, again, I'm just going to go to an existing vendor. Sorry, a little bit slow here. And on the Invoicing tab, you'll see the field for Vendor Posting Group. You would use the lookup here to select the appropriate vendor posting group. And again, if you want to see which GL accounts are defined, click on Advanced, and you'll see the AP account associated with each of these groups. So if you only have donor and vendor, then it's pretty clear. You're going to select a vendor posting group for your vendors and the donor posting group for donors. But you could have, as many posting groups as are necessary to keep your transactions separated for your vendors and your donors, depending on the type of donor or type of vendor that they are. So vendor posting group assigned on the Invoicing tab, we'll go ahead and close out of here, and then we'll go look at a donor. On the donor card, the posting group is defined on the General tab. So you will assign the donor posting group here, similar to how we just did on the vendor card. Again, you can click on the drill down, see the available options, and see the accounts associated with those. Okay, that was for the agency posting group and the donor and vendor posting groups. And next we'll look at where the inventory posting is assigned. So we can either get to items however you want to get there. And we'll edit one of these items here. And on the Distribution tab, you'll see a field for Inventory Posting Group. And this is where you define which inventory posting group is assigned to the item. And in the background, based on the location, it also further determines which GL accounts will be hit for transactions associated with this item, and then whichever location is the transaction is for. So the inventory posting group is assigned on the item, and then in the background, based on the actual setup by location, it will determine whether or not a different GL account is hit for transactions that occur within that location or from that location to another location. But all you have to worry about on the actual item card itself is selecting the correct inventory posting group. Now we haven't talked about general product posting groups yet, but general product posting group and inventory posting group are often, they use the same codes, but if we look at general product posting group, We can see that an additional one's been added here for chemicals in this particular database anyway. But you may have them match on a one-to-one basis where your general product posting group and your inventory posting group match, but the GL account assignment is slightly different. So if we go look at advanced here, we will see that, click on setup, we get a much bigger screen here for our general posting setup. And you'll notice that it's actually taking us to general posting setup, which is something that we haven't quite got to yet. But it shows us the combinations between the general business posting group and the general product posting group. And the thing to remember is that the general business posting group does not have to be defined. It can be blank. But in order to post, you must have a combination of blank general business posting group and a valid general product posting group. So if you have a donated item and there's no general business posting group on the agency, donor, or vendor card, then it will find this line with the GL accounts associated with this line when posting. So it's going to look for a general business posting group. If the general business posting group is blank, then it starts with this line here. And then it looks to see what the general product posting group is for posting. And if it's donated, then it's going to use these GL accounts. If it's purchased, then it's going to use a different set of GL accounts. And if it's non-food, yet another, based on the ones that we just saw in our general product posting groups here. So Gov may have a different set of GL accounts, etc. If the agency, donor, vendor have a general business posting group of general, then it finds this line and then looks to see what the general posting group is for the general product posting group, or general posting setup is for the general product posting group of donated. So in this case, they all match. They're the same all the way across for the accounts, but it's possible that you may want to set up a general business posting group that has different GL accounts for each general product posting group than a blank one. Or you may not use general business posting groups at all. As I mentioned, it's not required, but if you do not use a general business posting group, then you have to make sure that you've got a combination that does not define the general business posting group, but defines the general product posting group. Now, here I was drilling up on an existing general product posting group, so I only saw the setup associated with that general product posting group. But in just a moment, we will go look at the general posting setup where we can see all the different combinations. So I'll go ahead and click OK here, click OK. As I mentioned, the general product posting group is defined on the item card, as is the inventory posting group. But the inventory posting group, it only defines the inventory posting account, whereas the product posting group defines all of those other accounts. Okay, so to define general business posting groups, if you decide you want to use them, you would go to Financial Management, Administration, and Posting Groups, and you will find General Business Posting Groups at the top. As you can see, there isn't a line for blank General Business Posting Group because there's no need to define a blank line. But when you go to General Business Post or General Posting Setup, you can combine the blank General Business Posting Group with General Product Posting Groups through that window. But if you do want to set up General Business Posting Groups, this is where you would do it, and you would simply define the code and then the description. And this just says allow invoice or auto insert default, which I'm actually not sure exactly what that does, but I think it just makes it the default on cards when they're created. So if you wanted to set up a different general business posting group, a new one, then you could add it here, and you could add in your description, and then you can define that general business posting group on agencies, vendors, donors, and that way it will determine, once you have your general posting setup defined, which GL accounts are hit for those transactions. Click OK here, and before we were on the item card, we drilled up to the general product posting groups, but to set up the general product posting groups, you would do that from here. And again, to create a new one, just simply click on New, fill in the code and the description, and then you can define them on the item cards as the item is being created. Now, the combination of, actually, I'm sorry, I haven't yet shown you where to define the bank account posting group. So on a bank account card, on the posting tab, you would select your bank account posting group. So as I mentioned before, you can create it either with a code name or you can simply create it with the GL account if you want. But we created this new one called Capital, where the GL bank account number associated with that code was 1030. So if this bank account needs to have transactions posted to the 1030 account, then we would assign the bank account posting group either of 1030 or of Capital. So the code is just something that you name it in the system, and then the GL account is which GL account will be hit when transactions for this particular bank account are made. Okay, general business posting groups are assigned to agencies, vendors and donors, and to GL accounts. When setting up the general business posting groups, you must consider how many groups are going to be needed for breaking down sales by agencies, purchases by vendor, by donor, if you had purchases by donor. And for example, some general business posting groups, they can be divided by, say, geographical area or type of business or type of industry. Those are some base nav separations, but in Ceres, typically, you only have need for general business posting group of either blank or general. And so if we go to the general posting setup, we'll see that we have lines defined where a combination of general business posting group equals blank, and then by general product posting group, and then we also have defined by general business posting group of general, and then by general product posting group. So you would only need to define the combinations that you would ever have. So if you do define general business posting groups, then you would not need to have the blank lines. However, it's a good idea, just in case someone forgets to assign a general business posting group on a account card for, let's say, an agency or for a vendor or donor, and when they set it up, they forget to define the general business posting group and you're using them, then you would still have the capability of posting to the GL accounts without that general business posting group being in place, which will keep you from getting an error message when you try to post that says general business posting group blank, general product posting group gov could not be found. So that's why we have them defined for both blank and for general in this test database. General product posting groups, on the other hand, are only assigned to items, and they can be assigned to GL accounts, although that's not typically used in this in Ceres. But you could assign a general product posting group to a GL account. But for the purposes of most food banks that I've ever worked with, the general product posting groups are only defined on the item card. So based on the combination of the general business posting group and the general product posting group that is on the item, it will then determine which GL accounts to hit for the transactions. So if the agency has a general business posting group of general and the item is a government item and has a general product posting group of government, then the lines of an agency order will post to the accounts defined as the sales account, if it's a credit memo, if there's a discount on the line, etc. So the lines, the columns here, of course, you can expand them to see the whole column name. And then you would assign during setup all of the GL accounts for these different combinations. And then all you have to remember to do is to assign the general business posting group on the agency, donor, and vendor. And then on the items, you would define the general product posting group. And then when transactions are posted, the system's then going to know which GL accounts to hit for those transactions. This is what we call a matrix window because it shows you all the different variations for each combination of general business posting group and general product posting group. So now that the general business posting groups, the general product posting groups, and then also the agency posting group and vendor posting groups have been defined, and inventory posting groups, all of those settings where we went and assigned a posting group on an agency or donor or vendor and an item card, those will define one side of the transaction, and then the posting group setup that we were just reviewing here in general posting setup will define the other side of the transaction. So when something is posted, such as an agency order, the header defines one side of that, and then the lines of the order define the other side. And if, for example, you want to go back and look at how a transaction posted in the system, you can simply do that by, for example, let's go look at a transaction for an agency. If I want to look at ledger entries for this agency, and I want to see what GL accounts were hit during this, let's say, invoice transaction, I can highlight on the invoice line, choose Navigate, select GL entry, and Show, and it will show me all the GL account transactions that occurred during the posting of this invoice. So for example, it shows us 4 lines for direct cost, and then it also shows us some lines for the order. So we can see that the AR account, the AR count was hit here. Let's see if I can look up at these here. And then we have something hit to the government grants and contracts account, our pledges receivable account, food purchase revenue account. So these are all the header information, and then a sum, of course, of the lines. And down and at the top are our direct cost account entries. So if you want to go in and look to see where transactions are posting to, you can do that from the, whether it's, if you're looking at an agency order or a purchase order transaction, you can do that from the ledger entries. So we'll go ahead and close here, and we'll go take a look at a purchase order transaction to see it in a little different way. I'm not going to, actually, let me see if I can find one that might have transactions on it. It doesn't look like we show the balance here, so we'll just give this one a shot here and hope that it's got some ledger entries associated with it. And it doesn't. We'll take a look at this vendor here and look at their ledger entries. And then to see the information associated with one of these vendor ledger entries, we can simply click on the entry, go to Navigate, choose GL entry, and then Show. And here it looks slightly bit different than we saw on the agency distribution. We have some direct cost transactions for each line on the purchase order, and then we have a total for the purchase order, and we have our cost of goods sold and our AP account. So we can see the transactions that posted when this particular invoice was posted. And then obviously if we look at a different type of entry, let's see, we got here some payment, which is kind of from the past, but we'll go take a look at it. So on the payment, of course, we see it with our GL account hit here for the bank account, in this case the cash checking account, and for our AP account being relieved. So you can go look at the posted transactions and then navigate to the GL account, or sorry, to the GL entry records to see what GL accounts were hit during the transaction posting. We'll see if we can do a transaction that will show the different accounts being hit. Okay, we'll see if we can do a transaction from the purchase side through to the distribution side so that we can look at the GL accounts that were hit based on the posting groups assigned. So we'll start with a vendor, and let's go to our vendor here that we looked at previously. And the vendor posting group, of course, is vendor, and the AP account associated with that is 2010. And then we're going to use a couple different items for our actually we might just use one. We'll see what we get here. So we're going to create a new order, and let's grab that here. So we're going to select our, oops, I can't type. Actually, I was typing too fast for it. So we selected our vendor. We know that the AP account that will be hit is the account associated with the vendor posting group of vendor. And that determines what gets hit for the invoice side of it for the particular vendor selected. Then well, actually we have to fill out a bit more information here. And I may not be picking the correct product source, but hopefully I am. I think I am. So let's check here. Let's miscellaneous purchase. And then down on the lines of the order, of course, we'll put in our item. And based on the item that's selected on the order, it will determine what inventory posting group is hit, as well as the other accounts associated with the inventory posting setup. So we'll select an item, let's see here. Let's try C10100. And I'm going to actually go back here for a second, go to Advanced, and we'll take a look at the item card itself. And we'll notice that the inventory posting group is purchased, so that affects one side of the transaction, and then the general product posting group is also purchased, which gives us our breakdown by location, and by posting group, the locations on the inventory posting group side. So if the if the vendor has a general business posting group of blank and the item has a general product posting group of purchase, it will use this line for the GL accounts. And if the vendor has a general business posting group of general and the item has a general product posting group of purchase, then it will use this line. And in this particular database, they're the same, but they could be different in your setup. We'll go back here, close there. Okay, and let's go back to the vendor real quick and take a quick peek and see if a general business posting group was defined. Sorry, got to go to Advanced. So general business posting group on the vendor is blank. So when a transaction is posted, the general posting setup is going to use the combination of general business posting group blank and then the general product posting group for this particular item, which was purchased, so PUR. Nope, that's because I reselected the vendor. And then, of course, the location code. If you have different GL accounts for inventory posting based on location, it will define which GL accounts to hit once the location is selected. Hopefully this one will work for us okay. All right, so on this purchase order, boy, it's expensive. Hopefully the applesauce cups are really not $1,000 per each, so we're going to actually make them 10 cents per each. That's much more manageable. And then we're going to go ahead and post. Now, I'm just using a scenario where posting is really simple, so this may not be the same way that it's posted in your database, and you may not even be somebody who handles the purchase order side, but just so that we can see the way the GL accounts are hit, we're going to go ahead and post. And hopefully I can release and post. Now the GL accounts don't get hit until the document is actually invoiced, and you'll notice that I got a message telling me that the vendor invoice number must have a value. That's because the external document number or the vendor invoice number is required, or I cannot post. So we'll just call this. And now it should let me post. Again, if the product is just received, the GL accounts will not be hit yet, although you may have it set up to recognize the what's going to go to the accounts ahead of time. But until it actually is invoiced, then the GL accounts will be updated. Now, I got a message that the bin is blank, and that's because apparently when I made a change up here, it lost my bin code. So I have to do something real quick here. Okay, so we posted the purchase order, and if we want, we can go look at the GL accounts that were hit. We can go to the vendor card, and we can go to that vendor, and we can go to ledger entries, and we can find the ledger entry for today, which is this one here, and we can navigate to GL entries and click on show. And we can see that the invoice amount went to the AP account associated with the vendor, and the opposite side of that went to the cost of goods for food purchases because it was a purchased item. And then, of course, we have some direct costs, so the cost of goods sold, and here's our inventory account. So this is the account defined by the inventory posting group on the item card. And then, of course, our cost of goods sold, which is defined as part of the posting group set up for the combination of general business posting group and general product posting group. So that was our invoice for the purchase side. And now we're going to go put this item on a agency order, and we'll track it through. Hopefully I typed that right. Nope, I didn't. We got peach cups instead of applesauce cups. 10100. All right, so if we wanted to drill up and look at the applesauce cups again, we can take a quick peek at the information associated with that item. We have a general product posting group of purchase, so it's going to use the general posting setup associated with the combination of general business posting group and general product posting group. And it gets the general business posting group in this case from the agency card. So we would go, we'll close out of here, and we'll click OK there. And if we scroll up and we go to the agency, we'll take a quick peek at the agency card. we'll see that on the agency card, the general business posting group is blank. So for the general posting setup, it's going to use the general business posting group of blank with the general product posting group of PUR, P-U-R, to get the combination of accounts to hit for the item side. And then for the agency, it's going to use the agency posting group assigned on the agency card. In this case, it is the account 1210 that will be hit. And of course, because I reselected it, it's asking me all this stuff. All right, so we'll put our quantity on the order. And again, I'm using a really simple scenario here, so I'm going to grab my lot. I'm going to assume it's that second one I just created. And it's requiring I have a shopper. Oop, there we go, post. And again, in order for it to update the GL accounts, we have to do ship and invoice. I don't have any delivery charges on this particular one. If you had a separate line for delivery charges, then it would go to the GL account associated with the delivery charges as defined in the agency's receivable setup. But I don't have any delivery charges on this order, so I'm going to say yes. And of course, I haven't filled in the quantity to ship, so it tells me that there's nothing to post. So we'll just make that correct here. Now, hopefully we'll be able to. And then once this posts, we'll go take a look at the transactions associated with the agency side. So if we go to agency relations, go to agencies, and we'll find our agency A0026. And here's a transaction we just posted. Navigate. And it tells me that the combination of document number and posting date has been used more than once. That's because I don't know if this is the account that does the, oh, we'll find out here real quick. No, it still let me through. It's okay, we're good. So it shows our accounts that are hit. So we have our inventory account. So for purchased food, we have our cost of goods sold account for purchased food. We have our food purchase revenue account and our AR agencies account, which is coming from the agency posting group, and then our bank account side of it. There's our bank account side of it. And you can see the balancing account type here, so it shows you the different accounts, what type of account they are, and so that helps you figure out where it came from if you're trying to figure out a transaction and why it posted to an account that you didn't expect it to post to. So it may take some time to get used to looking at the history of the transactions, but you can play around with it. Just go to any posted transaction and navigate to the GL entry and start looking at the accounts that were hit and what balancing account type they were. And that way it'll help you get more familiar with the different types of posting. There's a lot to do with general posting setup and specific posting setup, but once you get more familiar with how they work, it will help in troubleshooting any error messages that you might get during posting routines. So hopefully this class has given you a little bit better idea of how those are set up and defined, and we look forward to having you in the next class. Thank you.